Hi everybody, as you listen today, I will be somewhere in India speaking at a couple of conferences. Would really appreciate your prayers. Everywhere you look today, there are neon signs, lights, billboards, magazines, advertisements, all inviting us to indulge in a little bit more food. Come and eat is the call. And so it's become like a real idol in our lives. I think food has. You may challenge that, but I think we need to consider that it has. And, almost every occasion there's going to be food to eat. And there's more food, and often we'll eat too much. I think, as I think about this, that this emphasis on food from the world is a masterstroke of the enemy, of the devil, if you like. You say, why do you say that? Well, the reality is this. According to Scripture, one of the most powerful ways to get breakthrough in your life, have a closer relationship with God, to know blessing in life, is through fasting or going out without food. So the enemy is saying, eat, 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 and God is saying, fast, fast, fast. And with a greater emphasis on food, it's just that much harder to put it to the side and to go without it. So I think the enemy has really done a great job in this area, but hey, greater is he that's in us than he that is in the world. So what I'm calling Church Unlimited to, and hey, anyone else, welcome to join us 21 days, not 3, not 10, not 7, 21 days. Actually, be thankful it's not 40, of prayer and fasting. And we're going to pray for your personal breakthrough, for God to break out in our land. We're also praying for our coming conference, New Zealand and beyond, that we'll see a move of God. Pray for your family and friends. In fact, you can add anything in terms of what you want to pray for. And I would suggest set some goals. Have some targets. What are you really praying and fasting for? Because that will guide you in your prayers as you go forward. So there's a form that we're going to fill in for our Church Unlimited, and we'll collect that at the end. Joel 2, verse 15 to 16 says, blow the trumpet in Zion, consecrate a fast, call a sacred assembly, gather the people, and sanctify the congregation. So fasting, what it does, it positions you for a breakthrough. Last year, we did 21 days of prayer and fasting, and it was one of the most powerful times that we had. I have heard so many testimonies from people of how they were impacted in their lives, had breakthroughs, got closer to God. And I've had people telling me that they are looking forward to this next 21 days of prayer and fasting. I can't say I'm quite at that level, but great that some people in our congregation are. Fasting makes me angry. I mean, really, really angry, annoyed, upset. And you might say, well, why? Well, the reason is I've done it so many times and it works. The jolly thing works. I've seen so many answers to prayer, so many blessings from fasting, so much more of God's presence. God says, you want some more of that? I say, yeah, I sure do. He said, well, you know how to do it. It's through prayer and fasting. And so, hey, the good things in life often do cost, don't they? Not much comes as a free lunch. There's always something behind it. Most people who are successful have paid a price. And so fasting is a part of paying the price, I think, in our lives. The early Christians spoke of 3 great foundations of the faith. And they are found in Matthew chapter 6, and it talks about when you give, when you pray, and when you fast. Think about this. Giving, praying, and fasting were considered by the early church the 3 great foundations of the Christian faith. So what's going to happen if you decide you're not interested in one of those foundations? If you build anything on a faulty foundation, it's not going to work. It's not going to be what you hope it to be. And under pressure, what you've built is really going to struggle. So these are the 3 great duties of all Christians, unless, of course, you have a medical reason why you cannot fast. Some blessings and breakthroughs I believe God has for us will only come through prayer and fasting. Matthew 17, 20 to 21 talks about this kind does not go out but by prayer and fasting. Derek Prince, he goes further, that great teacher. He says some aspects of God's will for you will not be accomplished without seasons of fasting. So really, if you're able to, I want to strongly encourage you, begin to add this discipline into your regular lifestyle and your Christian disciplines. The average church focuses mostly, I think, I might be wrong, on giving. Some add prayer, not many add fasting. Well, I want to say at Church Unlimited, with preaching, you're going to hear more on fasting and prayer than on giving. In fact, I want to suggest that one of the reasons our nation here in New Zealand is not moving towards God like it should be, why we're not seeing the kingdom of God grow and expand with new believers in great numbers, is because there is a lack. One of those foundations is missing, and that is the foundation of fasting. It really is very important to get it established in our lives and also in churches. Hebrews 11:6 says he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. So rewards are not for just those who turn up to church on a Sunday and do their duty. No, it's for those who diligently seek him. We need to go after God. While you're fasting, while I fast, I don't know about you, after I've got into it for a while, I'm always thinking, what am I going to eat when I finish my fast? I have some things that I normally do, but I'm starting to, 3 or 4 days before, maybe a week before, I'm really starting to hone in on what this food's going to be like, what I'm going to have. But you want to know something? God's not thinking that at all. He's not thinking about the food you're going to eat at all. You know what he's thinking about? He's thinking about the incredible blessings that are going to come your way as a result of your prayer and fasting. Things that will blow your mind and bring you into a deeper relationship with God. That's one of the things that will certainly happen. So as you fast, get ready for blessing. I don't know what it's going to be, but hey, some blessings are going to come. There was a lady in our church a number of years, I remember talking to her, and she said, man, I find it so hard to fast. But she joined in on the 21 days of fasting because she needed a financial breakthrough. So she prayed for New Zealand and beyond. She told me this specifically, and for financial breakthrough. And God worked an extraordinary miracle. She told me herself, she got a $50,000 miracle. Don't underestimate what God can do when you begin to diligently seek him and show him that you are serious about getting an answer, about getting a breakthrough in your life. And in fact, I'd ask you the question now, what is the single greatest breakthrough you need? Think about it. Maybe that thing you've struggled with for years. Maybe that problem, that addiction, that sickness, whatever it might be. Why don't you consider targeting that with 21 days of prayer and fasting and just see what God might do for you. We're used to giving ourselves whatever we want. So I think, I want a donut. So I go and get a donut. Do I need a donut? No. Have I had enough to eat? Yes. But I want a donut. So I go and get a donut. I don't know what you're like, but that's what I'm like. So it's a bit like, our stomach's a bit like spoiled children. But spoiled children don't need to be indulged in more. They need to be disciplined. And our stomachs, I want to suggest, need to be disciplined. Get control of our stomachs. Our stomachs shouldn't rule our lives. Other things, God should ultimately rule our lives. But they say fasting is training in self-control. That's a thought, isn't it? Wonder how many of you need a bit of self-control. I need it. I need lots of self-control. If you think about it, if you learn to self-control in one area, you can then move it to another area. And then maybe move it to even another area. So this is a fantastic discipline to have in your life. Any area of self-control is a great discipline. So they say that fasting will dethrone or go some way towards dethroning the appetites of the flesh. However, I must be honest here. I've done a fair bit of fasting over my lifetime. I'm not sure it's dethroned the appetite that I have for chicken curry. But maybe it's dethroned it in some other areas. If you feel that your walk with God is waning a bit, you're struggling to feel the presence of God. You come to church, but you're not really getting a lot out of it. Prayer is hard. Reading the Bible almost non-existent, and you're sort of a bit frustrated. What can you do? Well, you got to work at maintaining a relationship with God. It's like anything. You got to, what you put in is what you get out. So I was on holiday recently, and I had a tremendous holiday. And my goal for the holidays was I wanted to get closer to God, because I was going to have a bit of extra time on my hands. So I set about that and had some terrific times of prayer and times in the Word, because I had time to do it. But there was a couple of times I noticed that sense of God's presence when I prayed and during the day was just starting to wane. So what I did, I know it was holidays, but I thought, gosh, I need to fast. So a couple of times I actually fasted for a day in the middle of my holidays. And you better believe me, the next day when I got to prayer, the presence was back. My spirit was awakened. It was alive. So the point I'm making here is staying close to God's not a given. You've got to work at it. And one of the best ways that I know of getting closer to God, feeling His presence, the Word coming alive, prayer being a bit easier, is through fasting. Not necessarily while you're fasting. Often it comes after you've finished your fast. By the way, the end result of that fasting during holidays, I had the best ever holiday. It's just the way it works. It's the way it works. God first. Come on, you've got to get this. God first. And He will take care of the rest. So He blessed me in virtually every way except golf. I don't know why that is, but God doesn't seem that interested in my golf. If anyone has some insight on that, please let me know. It would be very, very helpful. Think about fasting. When you fast, it does a few things. It expresses your desire for God. I mean, why would you fast? Well, because you want God, you want more of God in your life. And I read this. Fasting enlarges our spiritual capacities to experience more of God. Whew. How many of you would like to experience more of God? Every hand. Fasting enlarges your capacity for God and for the things of God. It actually accelerates our walk with God. You want to move a bit faster in your relationship? You want to hear His word more and more quickly? You want His presence to increase, not just incrementally, but a little bit faster? Fasting accelerates the spiritual world in which you live and the spiritual desires that you have. It all gets accelerated. I tell you this, if you start fasting, your hunger for God will increase. Full stop. It just will. Because you've just done something that is so powerful. Your love for God will increase. It will be incremental, but it will also be definite. Some say it accelerates answers to prayer, and I think that goes without saying. Now, some believers, present company accepted, never fast. Well, that may be the case. Some very rarely fast. Now, I want to suggest, and this is pushing the boundaries a little bit. You've heard me on fasting regularly. I want to recommend you fast one day a week. And we've done that at Church Unlimited for 31 years. Those of you who already done one day a week, now don't react, all right? There may be some demons manifesting when I say the next few things, but why don't you think about 2 days a week? Oh, come on, Pastor. Come on, give us a break. The early church fasted 2 days a week. John Wesley, who had one of the greatest revivals ever, his followers, especially his preachers and leaders, they fasted 2 days a week. So it's not out of the question. If there's someone here that's already at 2 days, why don't you add another meal? I don't know, whatever it is. I want to make a statement here that I read about for you to think about. A fasted lifestyle. You know, most people fast when the church or the pastor calls them to fast. When you have a fasted lifestyle, it's from your own initiative. You decide you want to do a fast. You choose to fast 1 day a week, or maybe even go to beyond 1 day a week. Fasting a meal here and there when you just, something stirs in your heart and say, go without a meal. That's happened to me numbers of times. I don't like it when it happens, but it does happen. And what happens? Then you get into a fasted lifestyle. And I believe the results of that are even greater. When I'm fasting, I'll see people eating. And that really bugs me. You know, I'm not sanctified enough to sort of think, God bless you, enjoy your food. I think, don't you know I'm fasting? You know, it can be annoying, especially if it's a church member that I've preached to about fasting and they're eating while I'm fasting. Yeah, that's when I need a lesson on self-control, especially in my thoughts and my thinking. But, that's going to happen when you're fasting. I'll tell you this, as soon as you start to fast, someone's going to put food on your table, on your desk at work the next day. Or the boss is going to say, hey, free lunch for everyone. He's not done it for 40 years, but the day you fast is the day he's going to do it. Food will appear everywhere. And the days get slower. The nights are longer. But you know what I always do? I remind myself. Number one, I chose to fast. Number two, the rewards are fantastic. Matthew 6:16 and 18 says, when you fast, our Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. There is an open reward that comes to pass. Joel 2:28, it shall come to pass afterward, I'll pour out my spirit on all flesh. After what? Whenever you see afterwards, you want to check out after what? Well, before the promise of Joel to pour out his spirit, Joel issues 3 calls, no less, to prayer and fasting. Joel 1:14, 2:12, and 2:15. And it's going to take prayer and fasting to bring an outpouring of God's Spirit on your life, on my life, on the church, the community, in the nation. There probably is no other way that we can do this. When we fast combined corporately together, it is even more powerful. The Bible says you put one will put 1,000 to flight, 2, 10,000 to flight. You know, the first Protestant church in Korea was planted in 1884. 100 years later, they had 30,000 churches. The end of the 20th century, 30% of Koreans were actually Christians. And you ask, how did that happen? In a century when other nations are declining in Christianity, Korea rocketed. I don't know what it is now, but at that time, it was up to 30%. And they say that the key reason was fervent prayer and fasting. One group of churches alone in Korea, 20,000 people did a 40-day fast. Hey, that's how you get massive results from massive fasting. So there are different types of fasting. You know, mostly the key thought is you abstain from solid food. In biblical days, when people did that, they usually went only on water. They just had water only. Today, people add coffee, tea, juice, and that sort of stuff. There's the Daniel fast, where you only eat fruit and vegetables. Daniel 10, 2-3. Quite frankly, I'd rather eat nothing, but that's a choice that people make. Mind your fruit, I don't mind. Vegetables, well, I mind your curried vegetables. Boy, I'm beginning to learn curried vegetables are fantastic. Try them, but not during the fast. Always remember what God initiates, He empowers. You're often going to think with fasting, I can't do this. His grace is sufficient for you. If He's calling you to fast, which I believe He's calling us all to fast because it's in the Bible, then He enables us to fast and to do it well and to give us the strength to do it. As you practice fasting, it does get easier. When you start out, what seems like an overwhelming impossibility, over time and over the years, it just gets easier and easier. It's never not just no effort at all. It's always going to be a bit of a challenge, but it does get easier and easier. When I started fasting, honestly, I thought it was going to kill me. I used to count the minutes, not the days. I'd count the minutes. 5 past 12, 6 minutes past 12. And I think when it got close to the end of the fast, I was probably counting the seconds. It was so hard. I had to honestly, fight my way through incredible struggle to develop this discipline in my life. But having done it now for a number of decades, fasting is a lot easier. But I keep challenging myself to push it out a bit further and a bit longer and all that kind of stuff. You know, one of the interesting things is that the world is now talking a lot about fasting. It's become the big thing. And the world is saying that fasting is one of the greatest keys to good health. They're catching up with what the Bible talked about thousands of years ago. I mean, read the Bible. It's all in there. Way back in the days of Moses, they were fasting. And so the world is understanding. And so I've read up on this, and they say one of the big things about fasting gives your digestive system a break. Believe me, for some of you, your digestive system needs a jolly good break, just like mine does. So give it a rest. It's often overworking, and that's not good for your health. But research tells us that fasting can lower blood pressure, cholesterol, rheumatism, it can heal heart disease, circulation, skin ailments, allergies like hay fever, all those different kinds of things. Let me share with you some of the testimonies I've heard of people who have fasted. These are not from our church, but mostly from outside. First person says, only 3 days into a fast for a loved one suffering with cancer, they were completely cured. 3 days of prayer and fasting. Another couple were told they could not have children, so they did a 21-day prayer and fasting. Later that year, they testified with a baby in their arms. This fasting, it really is very powerful. There was a young boy, when 15 years old, his father committed suicide. That's pretty tragic. And of course, as a result of that, he just walked far away from God. He was away from God for 15 years. It was a heartbreak to the mum. She lost her dad, her husband, now the son's away from God. So she went on an extended fast, and then the son, who then got married, both came to the service and both got saved. One of the things fasting can do is release financial blessing. Joel 1, the people were very poor. If you read it through, it was like a famine. Joel 2:15, God said, blow the trumpet in Zion, consecrate a fast. Now after the fast, Joel 2:24, the threshing floors shall be full of wheat, the oil vats shall overflow with new wine and oil. In other words, plenty to eat. Fasting dealt with poverty and famine and financial struggle and difficulty. Romans 12, verse 1, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, you present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. Present your body a living sacrifice. You say, how can I do that? I'll tell you, by giving, by praying, but mostly, or even more, by fasting. Your body, a living sacrifice. Why don't you try it? Have a go. See what God will do. I reckon the devil will do everything in his power to make sure you never establish the discipline of fasting in your life. Why? Because he knows the day you do, he is in trouble, and his hold over you is going to diminish and diminish and diminish. He'll throw the book at you and force you and do anything so that you don't fast. He'll tell you it's legalism. It's Old Testament. It's something, it's going to kill you. You'll get sick. He'll throw all these lies at you. Listen, he's got to stop you fasting. He has got to. He cannot permit you to start fasting because he knows once you do, it's a game changer. It will change your life. It will change your walk with God. It will change your family. It'll just release so many things in your life, especially as you establish it as a discipline over the years. Fasting for 1 day, 3, 7, 10, fantastic. Do it. Do anything. Whatever you do, I commend you and I say, God bless you. But can I just add something else? When you go to 21 days, or those who go to 40, which I've never done, it's another dimension again. See, what you put in is what you get out. Hey, I don't want to discourage anyone from doing 1, 3, 4, 5, 10, whatever. But if you're able and you're disciplined in this area and you can push out to the 21 days, wow, it really is a whole nother level. The key to fasting, because at the middle of the fast, you're going to think, I can't do this. You just think, oh, I'm done. No, you're not done. You talk to your tummy and you say, I'm not done. I'm not finished. Hey, devil, I'm not finished yet. Leave me alone. Take authority over your stomach. Take authority. Exercise some discipline, because you can, by the grace of God, you can push through the whole thing. What I do is I keep telling myself, this is worth it. This is worth it. This is worth it. And the thing is, it's the truth. It actually is worth it. But you've got to keep telling yourself that. Now, let me give you a real key to fasting extended period of time. You want to know? Here it is. 1 day at a time. Or half a day at a time. Can you fast today? Yes, you can. Don't worry about tomorrow. And certainly don't worry about day 20. You may not even get there, so why worry about it? 1 day at a time will make a difference. What do they say? Inch by inch, it's a cinch. 1 day at a time. I don't say it's going to be a cinch, by the way, but hey, it's just a good statement. Here's a person, testimony. They said, 21 days? I don't think I can do that. Anyway, then they remember that when you put God first, you'll have a prosperous year and a blessed year. Well, at this stage, they owned one car, living in an apartment. Over the course of the year, they got another car. They moved in their house, plus tremendous financial blessing at work. And this is a person who said, I can't do 21 days. They did it, and God blessed them in a fantastic way. With this 21 days of prayer and fasting, we're expecting breakthroughs and healing. We want to see God's power released in our church in a far greater dimension, miracles happening every day, to see a move of God at New Zealand and beyond, and in the church, to see that trust arena absolutely packed out. I'm looking forward to giving my digestive system a good break. Our nation has greatly sinned against God. There's no fear of God left. Our only hope is 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people call by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sin and heal their land. Our only hope for our nation, some of us for our own lives, is that we humble ourselves with fasting. New Zealand and beyond, which we are praying and fasting for, is a trumpet call. It's a trumpet call. It's a sound going out across this land to awaken the Church of New Zealand, the sleeping giant, to wake it up and to call it to prayer and fasting, because that's going to be the key to the future of our nation. Down through history, you can read it. Whenever the church has fallen asleep, a nation has drifted far from God, the strategy has always been a call to prayer and fasting. We are now overdue for a great awakening in this land of New Zealand. The time has come for prayer and fasting. The trumpet call is going out. With that will come revival. New Zealand will turn to Jesus. God has called us to do this. With His help and by His grace, we will get the job done. Amen. Let me just give you in closing a few practical guidelines. Make sure if you go without food, have plenty of fluids, water, hot drinks. If you fast more than a day or two and you've never done it before, please talk to someone with some experience. Don't launch out on even 3 days or 7 or 10 days if you've never done any fasting before. Maybe you could go to 3, but beyond that, I would be very careful. If you have a medical condition, please consult your doctor. Do not do anything unwise or foolish. How long should you fast? Hey, entirely up to you. It's your choice. It's between you and God. But once you do fast, if it's for a length of time, break your fast gradually. Don't do 21 days and then go out and have a big, massive roast dinner followed by dessert and ice cream and all the rest. You just be wise what you do. But also expect great rewards. Expect blessing, breakthrough, salvations. Expect to see New Zealand begin to turn to Jesus and open heaven over our conference. So please fill in your forms. The ushers are going to collect them soon. Thank you so much for listening in today. I'm going to continue on with ministry in India, but God bless you all, love you, and look forward to seeing you again real soon.